Strictly Sports. I am Jacob Brown, joined here with Stephen Cashin and CJ Uri. We're going to have an exclusive interview here on Strictly Sports with Jacob Brown with Senior Associate Athletics Director for External Relations at Florida Atlantic University, Mr. Andy Seeley, and he joins us now. Take a listen. All righty, guys, joined here by Mr. Andy Seeley, the Senior Associate Athletics Director for External Relations at Florida Atlantic University. And before we get started here on this interview, we just wanted to know how you're doing here. Tough times here with this quarantine. How are you and your family doing during these times?
We're hanging in there, Jacob. Thank you for asking. It's an unprecedented time for everybody. We're all trying to figure it out. My 14-year-old daughter's figuring out distance learning and actually doing really, really well with it. So proud of her on that. And, I've got elderly parents, and they're kind of going a little bit stir crazy, I think. They want to get out and do things, but they understand that they need to, stay in and be safe. So that's all we can do right now, and just keep on keeping on. And, my biggest encouragement for people is just keep doing what we got to do to keep each other safe. Because, man, I want my sports back. I want my teams back, and we got to get better before we can do that.
Absolutely. And my first question here for you today is what brought you to FAU?
So my background a little bit, I spent 7 years as the head of strategic communications at UCF, and had always kind of had my eye on FAU a little bit. And obviously the relationship with my AD, my boss, Brian White, and his brother, Danny, who I worked for at UCF, got to know Brian a little bit. And then opportunity came along that I couldn't pass up. I had actually left UCF for a brief time. I was out in Colorado working with the Mountain West Conference, and I got a phone call asking if I would be interested in the position at FAU, and absolutely jumped at it. I hated to leave after only 7 months on a job, but I couldn't turn down an opportunity to help lead an athletic department that I feel like is really on the rise, and get back to Florida too. I mean, I loved Colorado, but it was an opportunity to get back here. My family was still back here, so in a lot of ways, just really worked out for the best. I'm super excited to be here, and feel like it's, like I mentioned, a program that's on the rise, and I'm looking forward to helping build it.
Absolutely. So we wanted to know what similarities you saw between UCF and FAU. They're right up the road from each other, kind of following a similar path. UCF used to be in Conference USA, and they've had their down years in football, but recently they've been up in the national media as a recognized brand. So what are some of the similarities you see between the two in terms of student body, athletics, and growth?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities, and I think that's one of the things that attracted me to this job, honestly, is I felt like I was coming into something that wasn't the exact same situation, but certainly similar. You mentioned the conference affiliation. When I first got to UCF, it was our last year in Conference USA. I feel like both schools are fairly good size. Both of our locations are a little bit similar in that they're a transient community, a lot of tourists in and out, and those sorts of things. So there's professional sports that you compete against a little bit in the South Florida area as well as in Orlando. So certainly some similarities in that regard. I kind of look at FAU as on that same upward trajectory that UCF was when I got there. And I feel like if we just continue to do the things we're doing, we're going to build this thing into something even bigger and more successful than what we got.
Yeah, so when you think of college athletics, you think of football, basketball, especially for FAU, the top programs at the school. But what's been proven in like FAU baseball over the years has been like so successful. And what are your thoughts on an improved baseball stadium facility? When do you think we could see maybe some improvements there?
Yeah, to be honest, I think we're looking to invest in all of our facilities. We want to continue to improve every facility we have. So you're right, Coach McCormick and our baseball program has been absolutely one of our highest performing programs for a long, long time. And really what those things come down to are fundraising a lot of times, and doing a good job of getting out there and finding somebody that has some money that they want to invest in and help us continue to improve our facilities. We've been really fortunate. We've got a lot of great donors, and we just need to continue to cultivate those. And again, but I think that's across the board. There's certainly things that we can improve at every facility within every program, and we certainly are looking for those opportunities.
Yeah, students love going to that. When UM comes to Boca Raton, I know that's a big game, and they're always ranked. And it was really nice for FAU to get that big win against sixth ranked opponent in the country. So it's great when the ballpark is so nice, and there's always a great backdrop too. So that's definitely a spot that students actually really do show out to, especially when we have good teams in town.
Yeah,
And
man.
quite honestly, that's something that we're interested in here in athletics, especially on the external side of things. And it's one of the main priorities for us is really improving that student attendance, and improving the student experience, getting as many of our student fans into our facilities and into our games as we can. And we really feel like that's where a lot of the energy in our buildings can come from. And I feel like we can start the marketing effort right here on campus and really grow things by getting our students in. And so I know CJ, in talking to you, that a lot of our students listen to this broadcast. So I would please encourage all of them, hey, come out to our games, and beyond that, get in touch with us if there's something you feel like you want to see, or if there's a change that you'd like to see made, or if there's something that is important to you. We're interested in finding what those things are, so we can continue to improve that experience for all of our fans. But we certainly want to encourage our students to get out there.
Absolutely. And you mentioned students, and this kind of feeds into my question here. We already had that. And what are some things that the department itself is doing to improve those relations with students? Because obviously that's what makes for a really amazing department, having that cohesion between students, athletes, and the departments.
Sure. I think, and for context, I've been here since November, so it hasn't been an awful long time that I've been here. But in my time here, we've made contacts with the Prowlers organization. We're making inroads with the Greek folks. We're trying to, we work closely with our student affairs office and with student government. I know there's a lot of things that we've done in the past that have at times been well received by our students. But what we really want to do is just continue to engage with them and find out what makes them tick and what they want to come to a game for, those sorts of things. I was on a webinar earlier today, actually. I thought it was interesting. The person that was presenting mentioned that our students these days are so connected digitally that a lot of times, sometimes when you go to an event, it's one of their few opportunities to actually connect, not digitally. But on the flip side of that, it's also one of the times when they're potentially sometimes unable to connect digitally, whether it be a service thing or whatever. So there's pieces to that. Like you want to make sure that they're having a good social experience. If at all possible, you want to make sure that they are connected to their devices, which can be difficult sometimes depending on cell service and Wi-Fi. But there's a lot of those pieces that what we're really trying to do is talk to and listen to our students and find out what we can do to make things better for them, encourage them, and try to create a great atmosphere, because they're the ones that honestly that do create that atmosphere. So if we can create an environment where they want to come be a part of it, that's going to just help us all.
Yeah, for instance, I saw that someone in the marketing department, or whatever, I'm forgetting his job title, but he had reached out to a few Greek organizations about their thoughts on to improve game day experience, and potentially naming the student section something catchy, something that gets people's attention. And I thought that was really neat, especially because Greek organizations here are, they have a lot of the game day experience right outside of the stadium, but the catch is getting everyone in. So I thought this was really cool that they're trying to engage the coaching staff and the students with catchier things and other aspects to come into the stadium. So I know, Andy, that you had talked to me about that recently, about getting more and more students involved, especially at the game on game day. So I thought that was a great step in the right direction too, which would be reaching out to organizations as to, hey, what do you want to see?
Right. And I guess for a little context too, just to help you guys and our listeners understand as well. So in my role in leading external relations, I oversee communications and marketing, our social media efforts, our relationship with Learfield IMG, which is our radio partner, and they do a lot of the advertising that you see within the stadium, and radio advertising, all that sort of thing. and a couple of other things. I work with some of our sports directly as a supervisor as well. But in the context of this discussion, it's good to hear that you've heard that, CJ, that our marketing folks are reaching out and doing that, because that's exactly what we're trying to get done, is making those inroads and developing those relationships with as many student organizations as we possibly can.
Yeah, and to move on, so if you go on FAUsports.com or FAU.com, it shows where you've been, and you've gotten to see many programs and many campuses throughout your career. So we were wondering, not that you have to rank anything, but if you could compare what the new Schmidt complex is on campus and to the other Power 5 schools that you've been around to. And I know you don't like the term Power 5, but if you can compare how great of an investment this actually is for the school and where it compares to other bigger schools.
Sure. Well, can I do my little Power 5 rant just real quick?
Yeah. We'd love to hear the Power 5 rant, because we have the same view.
I've worked in the Big Ten. I've been around college athletics my whole life. The Power 5 thing is a media-generated term. There is no such official designation as Power 5. Yes, there's an autonomy 5. There's 5 conferences that have some autonomy to create some rules, but that's just my little thing. But anyway, but no, I would say, the Schmidt, I think, can be a game changer for us, honestly. That's an absolutely gorgeous facility that ranks right up there with any facility I've been in a lot of places, to be honest. And I think when we are able to bring our prospective student athletes in there, see that weight room, see the academic center, for the football team specifically, to see where they're going to be meeting, where most of their days are going to be spent, their time's going to be spent when they're not in class or on the practice field. But then our other student athletes who have access to those other facilities within that building, it's like I said, the best way I can put it is I feel like it could be a game changer for us, because it's absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, I'm not going to rank anything. It's, that's all subjective anyway, but I would say that it stacks up right amongst most of the similar facilities that I've seen around the country.
Yeah, I would also like to mention, I've been to that museum, the Fogelman Sports Museum. It's an absolutely incredible thing in there. Just how much memorabilia, the amount of items that they were able to put in there. It was just fascinating to see. Do you guys have any plans on circulating marketing efforts around that museum?
Yeah, so the museum piece is more connected to the university than it is athletics. I think part of it is that Mr. Fogelman and I will fully admit I wasn't here when all that kind of went down, so I don't know all the ins and outs of how it happened, but we certainly feel like there's opportunities there to get people on our campus just to come and see that facility and that museum. And I will say, selfishly, I grew up in the Midwest. I'm a Kansas City Royals fan, and Mr. Fogelman was an executive in the Royals organization for a long time. And so for me, it was like a kid in a candy store to go in there and see some of those great Royals artifacts, and as well as all the other stuff that they have in there. But it's a really cool facility, and anything like that's going to bring attention to the school and get people on campus. And then, to your point, it's right there at the Schmidt. You're right across the street across the sidewalk from the stadium. Hopefully we can do some things to make people understand what we have here and what we have to offer. And if getting them on campus to come to that museum is a way to do it, then we're all for it.
Yeah, I would definitely say that building alone, the Schmidt Center alone, has increased so many little relations with students and just the athletes in general, because I've been in there, Jacob's been in there, Steven's been in there, and there's been many times that we'll bump into some of the sports players that we talk about on the podcast or we watch on TV, on ESPN, and whatnot, and they're always really nice. And that alone, sometimes that little interaction with your athletes as a student makes you want to go to the game. And so that hub right there in the center, in the middle of the campus and right next to the stadium, I feel like is going to alone increase student interest in athletics.
No, I think that's a great point, CJ. Having our football student athletes especially, but all of our student athletes, where they were previously in the Oxley was kind of over on the edge of campus, and there probably was less chance for interaction there. So no, that's a great point. And we want to be, as athletics, we want to be very integrated into the FAU community and be a big part of everyone's college experience. And I see you guys all. We're doing this via Skype. Those listening can hear the audio, but every one of these guys I'm talking with has FAU gear on, and I love seeing that. We want to see more of that around campus. We want to see more of that around town, and that's one of my goals and one of my charges here is to continue to improve the recognition and the recognizability. Is that a word? The recognition of FAU athletics, both here in the area and in Paradise and around the nation.
Yeah, real quick, Steve. I think you had weren't you working at the museum, and a couple of the baseball guys went into the museum and kind of called the win?
Yeah, I had a few guys come in like here and there, and they came in. They're like, we're geared up, we're ready to go. Coach McCormick's got us going. We're not losing tonight, and they called it. They put it on a tee, and just the confidence those guys have, and seeing them every day, and just like chat with them. It's pretty cool to see, and FAU is really trending in the right direction, and they're doing great things to get students involved with every program, and it's great to see the athletes are getting better by the year too.
That's a great story. I love that. I mean, and that's one of the cool things about college athletics. And honestly, I mean, I hate to even say the number, but I'm 50 years old, and I just turned 50, young 50, right? But that's one of the reasons why I love being in college athletics is getting to know these young people and getting to interact with these student athletes. And so for our students, for somebody like you, Steve, to have that story where you may not have gotten to know those baseball guys, but you happen to get to know them. They were personable. They wanted to have a conversation with you, and you got a little insight into that game as well. I mean, that's cool, and that's part of the collegiate experience on both sides of it, whether you're a student athlete or a student that's getting to talk to one of those student athletes. So, and those are the things we want our programs to do is get out there and interact with our fans and our students, and you create those human connections, and it makes somebody want to get out and support them even more.
Yeah, so with where FAU athletics stands today and gaining national traction with the football team, baseball is continuing to make their strides. Basketball is really getting there. Dusty May's trending that team in the right direction. Where do you see FAU 10 years from now?
Honestly, I mean, I think we're just on a really good upward trajectory. I mean, you can't. I don't like to make too many predictions of, about win-loss totals or where things could go in the future from a standpoint of those sorts of things. But what I see is a pretty much an upward trajectory, and we want to continue to maintain success, continue to move up in all those metrics, all those rankings. We want to see our football team in the rankings. We were number 27 at the end of last season. Really felt like we had a shot at being in that final top 25, which would have been huge. Some of our other programs, our beach volleyball team was ranked number 10 in the nation last year when the season unfortunately came to an end. Obviously baseball, as you mentioned, has been highly successful for a very long time. And so I guess what I'm saying, and it's part of going back to the answer as to why I came here, is I saw a great upward trajectory in FAU athletics, and I think that's certainly there's no reason why that can't continue to grow and build.
Well,
we were definitely robbed from that our first top 25 ranking there. I thought we had it this year. I was like heartbroken to see that we were 26. It was like they're just teasing us.
I mean, you beat a team soundly in a bowl game with and that team that was undefeated and being talked about, going to a New Year's Six bowl, and it had been ranked in the top, I think top 15 at least.
I think SMU was up to 14 at one point last.
Yeah.
And that was a resounding victory. I really was surprised. I will tell you that I was surprised that we didn't crack the top 25 the way that bowl game went. But you know what? I mean, hey, nonetheless, it takes nothing away from what was an absolutely incredible season for our football team, and the way they played down the stretch was incredible.
Yeah, well, speaking about FAU, on the 28th, Brian White, FAU's Vice President and Director of Athletics, he announced that the Owls will play a 3-game football series with Missouri from 2027 through 2031. Even though that's a long time away, how impactful is that for the FAU football program?
Yeah, so I mean, unless something happens between now and then with scheduling, I mean, that would be the first SEC program to visit FAU Stadium, and they're the first one to actually sign a contract to come and play here, which is huge. I mean, I think what Brian said in the press release we put out is accurate in that it's us trying to respond to the sort of game day experience and environment that we want our fans to be able to enjoy. We want to be able to bring them great competition, and the name opponents sometimes can create that excitement for folks. And but we also want to get it to the fact of it's not who we're playing, it's that we're playing, right? So there's a balance there. But no, I think that's a great series for us, and and that piece of it's interesting too. It is a few years out, but the football scheduling thing at the Division I level is such an interesting, complex beast. I mean, it's literally puzzle pieces and looking years out in advance, and who needs a home game what year, and who needs a road game what year, and all those sorts of pieces. So to get those things put together can be a long process at times. So we were thrilled to be able to make that announcement, and we'll see what other schedule announcements we have here in the future.
Yeah, so I got like two quick comments about that. I thought that was a landmark day for FAU athletics, because we've had University of Miami here. We had UCF here recently, and that was really great. But getting an SEC team to come out here is huge. Now, I know it's in 10 years, but in my opinion, it's strategically perfect to put it in 10 years because by then the alumni pool will have increased a lot. There will be way more alumni in the area. I would expect attendance to be way better in 10 years anyway. So I thought that, Missouri coming here in 10 years, yeah, I wish it was next year, but really in the grand scheme of things, it's probably much better that it is in 10 years for this school, for FAU. And another quick side question for this one was, since you were recently at UCF in your career, when I was actually really surprised that Stanford went and played UCF this year. Like, I didn't realize that Stanford actually was going to Orlando this year. So when I saw it on my phone, I had originally thought that UCF was visiting Stanford, but didn't realize that Stanford was actually a UCF home game. So was that another one of those like weird scheduling things? Did UCF schedule Stanford like a decade previously or like half a decade previously, or was that pretty easy for them to schedule?
I'm trying to remember, CJ. I don't remember exactly when that one got scheduled. I think we had announced it at some point while I was there. So that one may not have been quite as many years down the road. I don't remember the exact dates on when that was. Now, what I can tell you is that was the return of a home and home. So we had played at Stanford.
Okay.
I want to say it was 2015 we had played at Stanford. So that was a home and home series that they had signed. So, and I say we, apologies. I say we about every school I've ever been at, but we you also.
Yeah, but you were there. You were there. So it was a we thing. You've been in FAU. You've been at FAU since November. So I was wondering if you had any good FAU stories so far in the few months that you've been there. Some funny stories with coaches or in the department or anything like that. That'd be good for some students to hear.
Yeah, I guess the best FAU story I have so far. Well, there's a couple things. So I started November 15th, but I had actually taken the job, a few weeks prior to that, and was able to attend the. Let's see, I went to the game at Western Kentucky. I'm gonna do a little bit of quick research here and see. So I was able to go to the game at Western Kentucky just to meet some folks and get a feel for some of the program and that sort of stuff. And then I came back down because I was looking for a place to live, and I was here for the Shula Bowl. So I'm looking at my schedule: Western, FIU, then I started and went to UTSA, then Southern Miss, then UAB, then SMU. So it looks like I'm 6-0 in football as an FAU employee. So
Hey.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they just want to keep me around for a while. We'll see. But no, one of my I guess the best story I have. So when we introduced Coach Taggart at his press conference, Coach Schnellenberger was there, and I was standing off to the side of the stage having kind of my job in that situation was to run the press conference. And I grew up a Nebraska fan. I'm from Nebraska, and so Coach Schnellenberger was always like, "Oh man, he's that guy that was at Miami that beat my Huskers when they should have won the national championship in 1983." And I turned around out of the corner of my eye. I was like, "Holy cow, that's Coach Schnellenberger coming through the curtain over here that had been set up, kind of a backdrop." And out of the corner of my eye, it caught my eye that the curtain or the pipe and drape had caught on his shoe, and he was literally gonna fall, about to fall. I turned, took two huge running steps, and was there and actually caught Coach Schnellenberger and kept him from falling, potentially getting hurt right before the Coach Taggart press conference. So that was certainly an interesting introduction to our legendary head football coach, Coach Schnellenberger. So that's probably my best FAU story so far.
Hey, well, not only were we 6-0 when you came here, but you also saved Coach Schnellenberger. You've been a savior for FAU so far. So
do you think the athletic department would travel to the University of Minnesota game? Is that something that you guys would be interested in going to with the team, or would you guys normally just stay back and just watch on TV? I mean, barring that we're able to travel.
So in general, with road games, in general, there's a certain number of administration people that have to go on those trips. So it's really all predicated on the size of the charter plane and how many seats available after you get all the team and team personnel and all that sort of stuff. So in my role, I generally travel with the team. Brian, our athletic director, generally travels with the team. The communications folks have to, obviously, for interviews after the game and for coverage during the game and those sorts of things. So there's always some folks that have a working role that do travel with team on road games. Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask real quick. I don't know how much you guys know or how much you're getting updated on the coronavirus and how that's going to impact the upcoming season. But how likely do you find it that we're going to have a season, and do you think we're going to be able to have fans and students packing that stadium come football time in August, September?
The best answer I can give you is I don't know. Brian gets updates all the time from Conference USA, and he spends a lot of time. He's on the president's leadership team and those sorts of things. But the best answer right now is we don't know, and I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen over the next few months. And that's tough. That's hard on people. You want to get back to normal. You want to get out there, and I want to see the stadium packed and rocking and get us all back to the things we want to do. But the only real answer right now is I don't know, and it's a hard one to give, especially in my business. We always want to be able to provide people with answers. That's part of our role in media relations. But in this case, the best thing you can say is I don't know, and we'll keep seeing what happens.
Well, we want to thank you so much for coming on our pod today during all this going on right now, just to talk about FAU athletics. It's been really fun talking to you about the present, about FAU, and talking about the future as well. We wish the best to all of you and your family. Please stay safe during these times. And for this edition of Strictly Sports, I am Jacob Brown, and we'll see you next time.